What's up guys, it's your boy Bevan. So it's a new day, let's go build more shit. As you all know, I've actually been doing like a shitload of swords recently. Of all the 13 projects I've done on my channel, 12 of them were actually swords. I'm thinking maybe today we'll do something else, you know, or like a ranged weapon or something. But then this guy came along and said, you should try a bow, Aqua Simalurca please. So yeah, that's basically what we're gonna be doing today, Aqua Simalurca. I hope I didn't butcher that lol. AKA the Yelan Bow. You know, I think it's funny though. This is like the first time, like literally in my life, I've ever tried building a bow. And I'm literally jumping off from level 0 up to like level 50 something. This is probably not gonna end well. But hey, just like every wise man would say, yay! First things first, the fucking usual, CAD. So I'm just gonna go and start Fusion 360 real quick, draw this model of the Aqua Simalurca. And oh boy, I gotta tell you, I actually stumbled upon a shitload of skill issues here. The amount of fucking errors I had to experience while trying to like combine this bow, as well as trying to cut it into pieces and exporting it. Yeah, it's a fucking Chi-Chi moment, bro. But I actually managed to pull it off anyway, and this is just about how the thing looks. But this is just a sketch though. We're gonna have to see how the thing would actually look like in real life. And so, once we have this concept of the bow, we're gonna be using the Make It All tool. It's gonna turn this concept to a reality, the 3D printer. And to tell our 3D printer what to do, I'm gonna use this slicing software. It's called Cura. It's gonna slice our bow. In other words, basically calculating just how the printer is gonna be making our parts and then creating instructions for that. And then once the instructions are complete, we can save it to an SD file, send it to our printer, then we can just let our 3D printer do its thing. So I spent approximately 2 weeks printing this bow entirely from scratch. Should could have actually been faster if only I had some of the parts up. But today, we got everything printed out right here. Oh, by the way, you guys noticed the new setup? Yeah, that's right. I upgraded my table wall. No, it's nothing. It's actually the table that used to sit in that corner of the room, and now I just kind of like move it to the center so I could just like put all these lights around it, so it'd be like more comfortable to work on and just like recording it as well. Y'all like the new setup? Rated 1 to 10. Anyway, so you guys can see here, it looks like we've got like a shitload of parts around here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You all thought it was just 12? Nah, think again. Apparently it's more like 19. The reason for that is that I had to cut the bow in half before actually like cutting into pieces. It's gonna be like pretty damn technical, but hang in there. I'm gonna try and explain this as simple as possible for you guys. If you don't know already, the kind of printer I have, and also like probably the most common printer out there, are called FDM printers. Printing it up straight and perpendicular to the build plate would have been pretty intuitive, right? I mean, why not? You'd save a bunch of space that way. But like, talking from personal experience, that thing is gonna be crippled. You see, that's because it's like the Z-axis, the axis that goes up and down in this printer. The materials that are like added on top of each other aren't exactly as strong as the flat axes, which is the X and Y axes. You guys can see from this diagram, both would typically receive stress from like 2 different axes at the same time. Which means I have no choice but to align the bow with like the axes where it's like the least crippled if we're talking about 3D printers and stuff. And so I had to print every single part flat just to mitigate this weakness. I want this bow to not only exist and look good, but also be like operatable and like indestructible while doing it. In other words, I want to be able to like pull the string back and then let it go without having the entire structure falling apart on me. Alright, so I guess with that quick tangent out of the way, I think we can just like go ahead and start putting these pieces together. So we're gonna be dividing this assembly to like a 2-step process. So first things first, we're just gonna do the symmetrical parts. I'm just gonna go grab like one of these halves, splatter a shit ton of glue on it, and then just like hit it and top it with the other half. By the way guys, got a tip right here. When putting these two together, sometimes you're not sure if it's like perfectly aligned or not. What you can do is like, you want to grab these part where it's like nice and flat here. You're gonna want to like hold it on top of the table, push it just a little bit so that they could basically like align themselves at about like just the same height in the bottom and up there. Oh no, don't stress too much about its alignment anyway. Tolerances are pretty big here. If it's like off by about like 0.5 millimeter, we're gonna be setting it later anyway, so yeah, let it be. And then we're gonna be connecting the major parts together. And to do that, we're gonna be using this. If you do look closer on the previous step, I've modeled this kind of a cylindrical groove on like each part, and when it's combined together, it's gonna create this cylindrical hole. What it's gonna do is that it's gonna allow these things in, then we're gonna be using it to like connect each part together. This, oh god damn it. This right here is an aluminum pin. So this is basically just like one small piece I cut off from this long aluminum rod. It's actually like a leftover from like my previous project. Basically what it's gonna do is that it's gonna reinforce the bow further, because this thing is gonna be receiving a shit ton of stress, and if you really want to reinforce plastic, you gotta use something that's tougher than plastic. Which could basically be anything. It doesn't have to be aluminum, you know, copper, bronze, mild steel, even tungsten carbide if you please. You know, this is just like one of the cheapest and like most workable materials I've got. And so this is just one piece. Meanwhile, we got like 6 sections that we gotta connect, and then each section has like 2 holes on them. So 6 times 2 is 12. Yeah, we're still gonna have to like cut 11 more of this shit. Well, I'll just be here sawing my aluminum rod. Pain. Alright, so now all the mirrored parts fitted together, we can then move on to phase 2, welding. This is basically using something hot to melt a bunch of stuff and infuse a bunch of stuff together. For me, I'm just gonna be using the welding iron because it's, well, relatively easy to find and quite affordable. What I like about the welding trick is that it's gonna combine the material and then give it a really strong bond with it as well. Basically just like fusing 2 parts with its own material, then we'll see what happens. Oh sh**. Alright, so it's been about like 4.5 hours of welding. Check it out, this entire thing is already assembled in one piece. What do you guys think? I'd say this is an actual pop moment, bro. I mean, like a second ago this was just like a bunch of absolutely scattered pieces, and now this is like one pretty beautiful looking bow. Like damn, bro, video game bows really do hit different in real life, you know what I'm saying? But the grind ain't over yet. In fact, it's only just started. Because you see, like 3D printers aren't perfect in the first place, so there's definitely like a shit ton of these layer lines all over like the body of the bow. On top of that, the welding process itself is actually pretty sloppy. There's just like no way to help it. Not to mention there are also parts in here that are pretty lacking. And by lacking here, I mean there's like simply not enough material on the surface. If you take a closer look on the parts that we just welded, you could totally notice that some area might have melted down a little bit too much, that it's like no longer the same as the size we specified back in CAD. And that could actually be pretty problematic, you know. I mean, yeah, we could totally clean up these concave valleys using our sanding tools, but I think we'd be removing a little bit too much material before we could even scratch that thing. But don't worry, there's one way to fix it. You just go use one of these motherfuckers. This is called a plastic buddy. This thing is basically just like a 2-part solution that you could easily mix and then apply to any lacking area, so you could like put on extra volume to it, which would compensate for most of the convex areas. So I guess we have no choice but to do extra work and clean it up ourselves. But before that, let's just quickly go over the tools that we can use here. So first we got hand files. This is actually like one of my favorite cleanup tools for 2 reasons. It's simple and it's effective. Basically just like pieces of steel with like ridges on them that could rip off material as hard as steel. And so I'm gonna be using these hand files to clean up like the majority of the weld marks that are left from the previous process before finally to move on with the finishing. And then after we're done with the hand file, we're gonna be using this to clean up the rest. This is a handheld Dremel set. It's actually like a really fine set of tools that you use for finishing. This thing like deals like pretty low damage. It also has like a very small AoE, but this tool provides an advantage that no other tool does, which is precision. If there are areas that your hand files cannot reach, you might want to go with this, because this is probably like the finest set of tools you can get out there. So yeah, it's about 3 p.m. right now. We still got like a shit ton of surface to clean up on this tape. So let's just get started. Alright, so it's, what time is it? It's 22:36 right now. How long have I been here? 7 fucking hours. God fucking damn it. But as you guys can see here, it looks absolutely stunning. It's nice and clean. Like a second ago, this was an absolutely scuffed looking bow, but goddamn. I mean, it's not perfect and all. There's definitely like some parts that aren't exactly as flat as the other, but we just cover it tomorrow in the paint section. Right now, I'm gonna get some fucking sleep. So yeah, see y'all tomorrow. Morning, G. Alright, so now we're at the paint booth. I got the bow right here. Now just to quickly run down the plan, here's what we're gonna be doing. First, so I'm gonna start off with the one coat of this motherfucker. This thing is called a primer paint. Basically just like your average spray paint, only that this thing has like a shit ton of filling properties to it. And so we're gonna be spraying like a shitload of this primer onto this bow, which is gonna cover like the more minor holes that we missed during the painting, and also give it like a much nicer and flatter surface for the next paint to stick on. Honestly, like in my opinion, you can just like grab any freaking primer you want, as long as it's affordable and like has this somewhat filling property to it. Because yeah, from my experience, this kind of paint is the one that's gonna run out the fastest. And you've been like following me, I mean like dead ass making the project as I upload them. I recommend you to like find a pretty decent primer with a decent price, because you're gonna need like a shit ton of these. Alright, so quick update. I'm finally done with the primer layer here. Now we can just like get into the real color. Now we can just like quickly get into the coloring phase. I'm just gonna go and bring in this microwave view of the weapon so we can like formulate a plan on how we can paint this thing. So, as you guys can see here, this bow is mostly colored in dark blue and white on like the wings and like top areas. And then there's also like a few of these light blue accents that has like this fade texture on some of the parts, but it's still like pretty weird and abstract as hell, I would say. So anyway, I'm just gonna like start off with this dark blue color. I know it might not be like the exact perfect tone. This is like the closest blue I could find in my local Home Depot. So honestly, it can't really be helped, but I'm just gonna like go and cover this entire bow with dark blue. Nice and even, and then I guess we could like totally work out the rest from there. Alright, so by now I'm pretty sure like the dark blue paint is already dried out, and so like usually the next thing that I want to do is like I'm just gonna go bring this bow upstairs to my bedroom and start like masking the areas out. But that's just for like the colors that are like more contrast, like the gold paint here and this one which does not, which basically has like zero transition between them. So I think we might as well just like do the fade pattern right now and then start adjusting it like a little bit later after masking. Basically what I'm gonna do is that I'm just gonna go grab this light blue spray can, take a few steps back, and then just kind of like spray it with quote-unquote higher attack speed and higher range. Now what's gonna happen is that this is gonna like lower the intensity, aka the damage of the spray, but that's exactly what we want here, because like we want to have like a thin and more sprayed out shot from our spray can, which is exactly what we need to create like the faded pattern that we're trying to achieve on this bow. Oh, and by the way, if you guys feel like spraying a little bit too much of the second color, that's okay. Don't be shy and just like grab the dark blue and just like manually adjust it yourself. This is why it has to be done at this stage, because at this point it's still very easy to like tune things around, you know what I'm saying? Now all we gotta do is just wait for the paint to dry, then we can just like move on with the masking tape. Meanwhile, here's a rare footage of me watching paint dry. Fuck this shit, I'm out, bro. Alright, so now that the blue color is finally dry, we can bring the bow back to my bedroom, aka the attic hideout. And then we're gonna be starting off with the masking process. So the principle of masking is so freaking simple. You get one of these paper tapes, you stick it on the damn thing, and you basically just trim out the areas that you want to expose, and then peel that tape. What this is gonna do is it's basically gonna like conceal the blue areas that we just did earlier, so that in the next phase of painting, you could clearly separate like the first phase and the second phase, no problem. Now luckily, because I did like the majority of the contour work in CAD, you don't exactly have like that much to do, because you can like use the cutter just to like follow along the shape I just modeled here. And so once everything is done, you can then like move on with the next phase of painting. I guess at this point we could either like do the white first or the gold first, but I think I'd rather just do the gold, because I think it's gonna be like much easier to mask the remainder with white later on. And so once the gold is done, I'm just gonna go back upstairs real quick and just like top the last batch of the masking tape. This part's gonna be easy peasy because we already did like the heaviest lifting like earlier when we covered the blue one. And then once that's done, I'm just gonna go back downstairs. So I'm just gonna go and finish it off with the white. So we'll just quickly blow through this feather thingy, the handle, as well as the top half that looks like a ring right here. Oh, and not to forget that there are also a few of these light blue accents as well. I'm just gonna go do just that real quick. Remember to spray from a distance, keep it short and sweet to get yourself a good fade. And after that, we're just gonna have to like wait for the paint to dry, and that's basically the paint job done right there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and bring the bow upstairs and then start unmasking this bow and then just revealing the paint that we stacked up in the last few processes. And so that's basically the bow at this point. But don't you think we're missing a little bit something? Yep, that's right. The strings. And not only that, there's also like a few ornaments here and there. If you look at the reference again, there's just two blue lines like near the handle, as well as a bead, and then this zigzag pattern near the bowstring. I've already printed these in the meantime while we were working on the bow. These I had them printed with like semi-transparent blue filming, so it basically would just like give this few parts like a different type of reflection on its own. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna drill 4 holes on the bow, 2 on this side and 2 on the other side, so that we could like attach these 2 hooks to it. Then I'm just gonna go and put this blue lines on with this piece of string right here. And then for the bowstring on this, I had to use like a 3mm elastic cord. So how we're gonna be attaching this bowstring is that firstly we're gonna make a loop on the upper hole while having one of the beads attached on it. Then we're gonna have the string go through the bead once. Then I'm gonna be securing it with an M3 imbus screw. And for this zigzag looking thingy, I'm just gonna go and tie 1 knot to lock it in place. Then put this thing through the hole and tie another knot to act as a stopper. And then we can just like quickly finish it off with the other side. Now this part is pretty crucial because you're gonna want to like play with the tension a bit. You kind of want to pull the cord a little bit harder so that it would like stretch a bit, and giving it like a good enough tension so that this bow could actually be used to yeet stuff. Once that's done, basically repeat the same steps we did on like the upper half, but then we're gonna secure it one last time with like a quick knot, which is gonna act as a stopper for this bead. And for some finishing touch, we're just gonna glue on this butterfly looking thingy on this aluminum pin and then attach it to the main body. So there it is, boys. Aqua Simalurca. I finally got the entire thing assembled together. Now it's finally done. Wait, what? It's not done yet? I'm missing some dots. Bro, here I spent 2 days painting. Right, one sec, I'll be right back. Alright, let's see. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. So there it is, boys. Aqua Simalurca. This one's gotta be like the most all over the place build I've done so far. You see, there's like a shitload of technical stuff going on, and then the cap model as well. I swear bro, the amount of fucking errors I had to go through just to model this thing is just absolutely nerve-wracking. But the one that's gotta be like the most tasking to do here has got to be like the paint job. As you guys can see, there's just like a shitload of stuff going all around this bro, from like the white, all these fade patterns, the gold accent. But if I could like be honest with you, I actually had to like redo the painting once because I messed the paint up at a certain point, which is, long story short, pain. Now that it's finally done, what do you guys think about it? I think it is actually like, up close it's chaos, from a distance it's beauty. I think this quote pretty much sums up this motherfucker, and I think like as a result these things turned out really beautiful as well. I also think like the paint job could have been a little bit neater, but at this point it's already too painful to redo the entire thing, you know? And now that it's done, y'all know what's up. Let's touch some grass. I'm just gonna go ahead and TP to the usual location, and I'll see you guys there. Here goes nothing. So guys, thank you all so much for watching the video, especially if you've been watching from the start until the finish. You see, I put a shitload of effort into this video, so I definitely appreciate it if you guys would like hit the like and subscribe button. I've got this Discord channel, link in the description below, go check it out, it's really cool. Me and my boy worked so hard on it, and I think you're really gonna love it. So yeah, I guess that's just about it. Y'all have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, say you love.